I'd like to call the meeting to order the Thursday, November 20th, the Victoria City Planning Commission. First thing on the agenda will be approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Woods, a second by Ms. Seen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Next thing on the agenda is citizen communication. Anybody wishing to address this commission with something other than what's on this agenda, please do so at this time. Looks like we have no one that wants to address us. We'll go ahead and close that, and then I'm going to open it up to development, review, and formal action.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
We have 3 items on the agenda tonight for review. The first agenda item is the Pavliska Subdivision Number 1, Re-Subdivision Number 1, Final Plat. You reviewed the preliminary plat for this in October, I believe, or September 18th, I'm sorry, and the City Council approved a resolution authorizing the variance request on October 21st. This variance request was for a access easement that ran through the property. You can see the plat here. The water service on this property is going to be provided by an existing 8-inch line along West Crestwood Drive. This plat requires the extension of a public water line within the property. Sanitary sewer will be provided by an existing 6-inch line along Crestwood, and it requires the extension of a private sewer line within the development, which will tie the public sewer line in West Crestwood Drive right away. The streets on this are North Vine Street, which is an existing collector, 65-foot right-of-way, West Crestwood, existing collector, 65-foot right-of-way, and a private street approved by the variance with a 20-foot access easement. Drainage will be provided along an open ditch in North Vine Street and West Crestwood Drive, and it shall meet the city's minimum drainage criteria and standards. We have found that it is in compliance with the minimum requirements for single-family residential development and duplex 2-family residential development, and we recommend approval of the final plat. There are what was it? 11 lots and 1 block? 11 lots, 1 block on this property. And if you have any questions, I can answer them for you. Their applicant is here tonight if you have any questions for them as well.
Anybody have any? Do I hear a
I just had my concerns back when using the fire lane and versus the narrow street. I think we're going to have a congestion problem in there come emergency services time. That's just my opinion. I expressed it last time, but just so it's noted, if there's a concern in there, if we do have issues with emergency vehicles trying to get in there, and you have fire lane people that are violating the fire lane, I think you're going to have some congestion in there and could cause some possible problems for emergency personnel response. That's just my opinion.
All right, Mr. Woods, did you have something?
I was just going to ask, I was going to bring up Mr. Wood's comments from the last time, and I can't remember, were the homeowners association restrictions ever received? Didn't we make that a condition? I don't have my notes in front of me.
I believe they were received. Yes.
Okay.
They were signed by legal.
All right. No other. Do I hear a motion to approve this plat?
I'll move that we approve it.
Got a motion on the table by Mr. Spears. Do I hear a second?
Seconded.
I got a second by Mr. Hayek. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Plat passes. Next.
Our next agenda item is a sign variance in the Lonesome Business Park. The applicants are requesting a multi-tenant sign or a multi-commercial park sign. Here you can see the location of the sign. It's circled in the teal there. They are proposing to remove this sign for Frost Insurance and replace it with this sign for Frost Insurance, AT&T, and VCS. The subject property is located at 6835 North Main, across from the DTAR North Hospital. It contains several existing commercial properties, including the Frost Insurance and the newly constructed AT&T store. It contains 8 lots, 3 of which have frontage and visibility from North Main, and the remaining lots are accessed via Kerr Boulevard and Twin Mountains Drive. Due to the lack of visibility, AT&T wanted to pursue this sign so they could have visibility for their signage from the North Main right away. And this will actually require several variances. This will require variance to Section 5, 154A1, where no billboards off-premise signs shall be located within 200 feet of any on-premise freestanding sign on the same side of the street. And that is conflicting with the O'Sullivan Radiology sign, as you can see behind the Frost Insurance sign. Billboards shall maintain a minimum clearance of 7 feet. Due to our ordinance not containing a section on commercial park signs, we are pursuing this as an off-premise sign, which is why we are in this billboard variance. The minimum 7-foot clearance does not apply in this case because it is a monument sign, so they are pursuing a variance to that. Section 5, 154C, the maximum area of billboards shall vary directly with the setback in accordance with the following. Less than 200 square feet is a 15-foot setback. They are requesting the setback be reduced to 10 feet where the existing sign is currently placed. Section 5, 154E, billboards larger than 70 square feet in area shall be built on a steel frame and mounted on a single steel pole. Again, this doesn't apply as it's not a billboard, it's a monument sign. And then Section 5, 154K, billboard approvals will be processed under one permit application requiring the following information for processing. And there's several categories that needs to process, but they are requesting us to waive this and go with a typical on-premise sign application process. Planning Commission has reviewed this, or staff has reviewed this in favor. Granting it will not create a negative effect on the surrounding property. Granting the variance will allow signage visibility for Main for AT&T and VCS, and it would reduce the number of signs in the development. If the sign were being used solely for a single business rather than a multi-tenant sign, it would comply with the sign ordinance. And against, granting of the variance would create a non-conforming sign. And I received a call from Vic Caldwell, who's not in attendance tonight, and he wished me to express his dissent to part of this, in that any other business that comes into the property would require a variance to be placed on the same sign or place an additional sign up on the right-of-way. But city staff is currently reviewing an amendment to the ordinance in which we would allow commercial park signs up front that would reduce this. I can't think of the
It would
word.
avoid the variance.
Yeah,
Yes.
reduce the amount of
Sure,
variances.
Sure, a
Sorry.
multi-tenant ordinance, sign ordinance, if you want to call it that.
Commercial park ordinance. Fine. And staff is recommending approval for this variance request on the condition that the number of freestanding signs, or where did we condition that? Oh, any business or park property as represented on the multi-tenant signs must be located within the Lonesome Oak Business Park subdivision. Additional on-premise freestanding signage within the business park would be prohibited for businesses' properties represented on the multi-tenant sign, so AT&T, VCS, and Frost Insurance. Directional and temporary signage shall be allowed on any lots within the subdivision, and temporary signage shall not be allowed off-premise. And I can answer any questions you may have about this.
You said if they put their name on this sign, they can't have another sign in front of their business? That's a condition you're putting on them?
Correct. They can
Why would
have
we do
directional
that?
signage if they need to.
Why would you do that?
Because this sign is taking the place of their having a
On-premise?
freestanding sign. There's still the fourth condition on there lets them put a directional sign, a sign in the driveway that says enter here. They could have like McDonald's has the little directional signs. Mm-hmm. Lots of Wells Fargo, there's a bunch of them. They can have wall signage on there. We're talking about a freestanding sign.
Okay. But they can still have signage on their building and what have
Absolutely.
you, but just not have another monument sign down the street.
Absolutely, right.
I'm not sure that's needed. Okay.
I don't know. Due to the nature of the businesses, I think they need to have that exposure there on Main Street. So That's my opinion. The sign looks good.
Yeah, it's a good-looking monument sign. I'm glad for that.
Go to that monument sign, please. Is it going to be lighted? Is it going to be internal light, or is there going to be a, I don't see, the one they have now is a spotlight. Is that going to be a lighted up sign?
The applicants here should be able to answer that question.
LED external.
So it's gonna be-
External.
So this sign will replace the existing sign?
Yes.
Yes.
So it'll be totally new structure, new everything?
Okay.
So basically, the existing sign will be demolished and this will be erected?
Correct.
I guess my question would be, as other businesses come in, could Sean O'Sullivan, I guess, do the same thing on his side, essentially? Is there more room for more businesses back
It
there?
would require another variance.
I'm just saying, if you were to, because y'all are on, VCS and AT&T are basically on this same side of the street, I believe, or no? Or y'all on the opposite side?
Mr. Woods, staff is working on a ordinance revision that'll make this a lot simpler. It's just our ordinance does not address what are called multi-tenant signs, where you're allowed to put a sign. You've got to be on your own same property, and so a lot of other cities have an ordinance that addresses it and allows it. Staff is working on a revision that we'll be bringing back to the Planning Commission the next meeting or two.
Okay, if it's at the next meeting, could we get it done that quick?
Well,
To where we don't have to
once
do
you make a
variances?
recommendation on that, then it needs to go to council, and so we're another 2 or 3 months out at least before that ordinance would be approved. They need to.
I'm curious, did Frost Insurance request a variance to the existing sign now?
No,
The one that's already there
The existing sign was in conformance.
wasn't conforming?
It was on its own premise.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's, are you through with your presentation? All right, so let's go ahead and open up to a public hearing. Anybody wishing to address this commission in the audience, please do so at this time. Okay, if not, I'll go ahead and close that. Now we're going to we'll go and open up for our deliberations. Do anybody have any more concerns? Or do I hear a motion to?
I'm just curious as far as, the future businesses coming in, they'll have to deal with this will be grandfathered in at that point, I guess? Is what you're saying?
Well,
Once
this will
you
have
get
a
your new sign
variance.
ordinance for the multi-tenant sign, then this one will be grandfathered in, correct?
I guess that's one way of looking at it. It complies because it will have a variance. But yeah, basically we would craft the ordinance that would allow something like this to be
It won't be in
legal.
compliance, that's why we're doing the variance at this time, but.
I guess I misunderstood your question then.
If this was to wait until after that amendment came through, it would likely be in compliance.
Okay.
That's what you want.
That's what I want.
I know.
Okay. So
Okay.
once your new ordinance is in, this will be in compliance, so we're good. We won't have a non-conforming sign at that point. It's just a
make a
formality
motion
to
to-
this point then, okay.
I second. You
Okay, I have a motion on the table to approve this variance by Mr. Rashid. A second
Second.
by Mr. Kennedy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Variance passed. Thank you. Next on the agenda.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Meeting.
You ready?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know if you were going to read the agenda item or not. This is the next case is a request for a text amendment. As you can see up on the slide, the subdivision and development ordinance deals with infrastructure construction reimbursements. Are you familiar with what those are? Basically, whenever a developer is going in and going to build infrastructure, say a road, as a good example. Whenever the city's thoroughfare plan requires that road to be oversized to meet, say, a collector or arterial street standard, typically the city then will reimburse the developer the difference in cost between what a local or what their development would require and then what those future needs are in a collector or arterial or something that is added or extra necessary for the public benefit. So we have an entire section, which you'll find in the staff report, that outlines how those reimbursements are made to developers. And we recently had a case where a reimbursement request also coincided with a development agreement. The City Council and Jared were working with the developers to make a development happen, and it was discovered that there would need to be both a development agreement and a reimbursement contract, and that this language could hinder what council could do, or lengthen the process. So what we have before you today is the infrastructure construction reimbursement proposed text amendment, which really would simplify that entire process. And so we proposed deleting section 2 and 3 of the ordinance, and still making all of the infrastructure construction reimbursements go to council for approval, so you still have council's final approval and oversight and authority to approve those infrastructure construction reimbursements. But it would give them the flexibility of either using a reimbursement contract or a development agreement, and then setting the terms of what that reimbursement would be based on the city's current financial outlook, or the city's current needs, basically. And that's the gist of this text amendment.
Okay.
All this does is simplify the process, correct?
Yes, sir, it simplifies it. A number of the reimbursement, the one that brought this up was Salem Crossing. They're extending water line and sewer line, and our master plans are requiring those to be larger, 8 inches the minimum. I don't remember the size that they're coming in, 16-inch or something like that. So the city pays the difference between the 8-inch and the 16-inch. And then we reimburse the developer. The size of that reimbursement is something that can be handled normally, at least within an annual budget. So rather than follow this and stretch out a payment to the developer over 5 years, council has been electing to just go ahead and pay them back in 1 year, and not make the developer wait 5 years to get reimbursed $250,000. So this will just simplify it. It puts all of the terms within the council's hands. The council can still decide whether to stretch out that payment. If it was a larger reimbursement that couldn't be handled in 1 year by the city, the council would be able to have the flexibility to stretch that out in whatever length they want. But the few that have come in over the last few years, the city's been able to just reimburse them, within that current budget year without needing to drag it out for 5 years. So we're just trying to simplify it. It eliminates a lot of red tape that's stuck in here.
But council could use their judgment if it looked like a slowdown or something like that. Well, we're providing this, it looks like it may not build out as timely as we think, then they could just use their own judgment how to pay them out.
Sure.
Okay.
Or, if for some reason, the reimbursement was $1 million and that's not readily available in one budget year, they could stretch that out and work with the finance department to work it into the city's budget and not be hemmed by some terms that are outlined in this ordinance. So,
Makes sense to me.
All right. Is that it?
Unless you have any questions.
All right. I don't have any. Does the team have anything? I'd like to open up to a public hearing. Anybody wishing to address the commission on this particular item, please do so at this time. Okay, looks like we don't have anybody. We'll go ahead and close that. Any deliberations on this? Do I hear a motion?
I'll move that we accept this.
I have a motion on the table by Ms. Dean to accept this amendment.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rashid. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Now we have other business.
I'd like to go over the monthly Developm report for October. We received one minor plat in October. We received one major plat, which is the Povliska subdivision, which we just approved. We received 4 site plans for Brake Check, Victoria Putt Putt, Velocity Power Sports, and Povliska. The 3 variances that went to Planning Commission on November 18th were approved. Victoria Putt Putt, the Torrin Bells driveway variance on 608 West San Antonio, and the Francis Marie subdivision variance. We received a valuation of $13 million in the month of October, 2.6 million of that being in residential single family, and 8.3 million being in residential multifamily. We received 38 electrical permits, 59 mechanical permits, and 67 plumbing for a total of 164 MEP permits. And we collected 32,000 in building fees, and for a total of 51,000 through all of our fees. Any questions on that? And I'd like to remind our planning commissioners that on December 4th, we will have a joint meeting with Planning Commission and the City Council as a kickoff to our comprehensive plan. That will be held in the Bronte Room of the Public Library.
What time?
What time was that?
5:30.
5:30.
You're going to be sending us
We'll send you.
email
will
on
send
that.
you-
Thank you.
We'll send
We'll
you
get a
an invite.
reminder of that, right?
You'll get reminded.
Thank you.
All right. That it, sir?
That's all we had.
All right, next on the agenda is items from the planning commissioners. Anybody?
I have one question, I guess, for
Mr. Woods?
for Jared and what have you. I know part of the sign ordinance was the sign trucks are prohibited. And I noticed we have one around town, a couple of them, and I actually visited with one. He said, well, our attorneys are working with the city and we have approval to do this.
No.
That's kind of what I was curious, because because it's specifically in there, because there was a gentleman that was a retired vet that was doing it. I don't know if you remember, that may have been before your time, that selling sign space on the side of his van. And I know the city shut him down. It's been 10 so years ago.
There was.
But we've got these sign trucks that are getting more and more prolific. There's a certain car dealership that likes to ride around with their big TV in the back of the truck, and now we've got these Las Vegas sign trucks. Actually, I think that's where they're out of.
That particular mobile received a ticket from the city. The other one that you mentioned, that case has been forwarded to the city attorney's office. We did that last week. So
But they are specifically
they're not allowed.
not allowed in the city. I didn't think they were. I was just curious where that was. If we were going to be seeing a change in the sign ordinance coming for that, or
It's possible that there could be some revisions that are necessary as we kind of work through the enforcement of this. But no, one of them specifically got a ticket, and I think it's gone and not in town anymore. And the other one, obviously, is someone in town, and that one's going to municipal court.
I just saw that. What the actual
They're still
sign
driving
truck,
around. I know they're still
the
driving
actual,
around.
The actual sign truck, not the dealership, but the actual sign truck. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I saw him, and I asked him. I said, "Do you realize I don't think that's legal." And he said, "Our bosses have talked to the attorneys, blah blah blah." And I'm just curious where we were at on that.
Their lawyer sent our lawyer a letter.
Okay.
I guess one thing, Jared, I just want to make sure you do have that on the multi-tenant sign. You have that on your docket for next couple of meetings. I just
Yes,
want to
sir.
make note of-
Depending on whether we're still working through that, and depending on whether or not we have other agenda items for December.
Very good. I
If
just
for
didn't
some reason
wanna-
we don't have any other agenda items, we will probably not have a December meeting just for that.
Okay.
We'll punt it till
That's
January. I assume that would be y'all's preference.
Yeah. Anyway, we didn't want to lose that, so yeah. Does anyone else have anything? If not, do I hear a
I was
motion?
going to ask real quick.
Okay.
Anybody attend Frisco from the group? Anything
Yes,
to
all
report
the
back from
planning-
that?
I'm sorry, what?
Anything to bring back from that? I'm just curious.
It's a good conference.
Well, I would hope so. I was just curious if there's anything to bring back to the commission on that you could send us. Worthwhile.
Yeah, we can look back through some of the materials and see if there is. The next year's conference is back in Galveston. So, we'll, as that time approaches, we'll be getting with the commissioners.
If there's anything of importance to share with the commission.
Absolutely.
I guess before I ask a motion to adjourn, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And if we don't see everybody, Merry Christmas also and Happy New Year. Okay?
Thank you.
So now, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So move.
Second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign? Good. Meeting adjourned. Thank y'all.